Deep in the mountains of rural Spain, a mysterious, aggressive plague sweeps through the region like a knife through butter. The symptoms include erratic behavior, high levels of aggression, and an insatiable thirst for violence. The infected are known as ganado, livestock, cattle, and somewhere here, amidst the strange, cultish horrors, is the target of Agent Leon S. Kennedy's mission, Ashley Graham, the kidnapped young teenage daughter of the President of the United States. So unsurprisingly, the events of Resident Evil 4 end up being insane, full of horrors beyond even Leon's comprehension, a nightmare of biomedical theater that only gets more absurd, more hilarious, and more terrifying with every single step you take. But for all the crazy-ass stuff you endure, all the freaks you encounter in this game, one character here that is arguably the most essential to Leon's survival and success is also noticeably different from all the rest. A man who keeps himself decidedly separated from all of that chaos. Traveling alone, shrouded in a large hooded cloak, his face obscured, and hauling on his back a massive collection of weapons that would make even the United States government blush. This right here, my friends, is the fan-favorite NPC simply known as the Merchant. One of the most narratively irrelevant yet beloved characters in the entire Resident Evil franchise. A man of dry charm and utility. A simple game mechanic personified, but with just enough mystery and plot armor and personality to embed himself firmly in the memory of anyone who has ever picked up this masterpiece, and now, decades after his initial appearance, a legitimate video game icon. A legend that has seen countless references in other games all across the industry. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the NPCpedia, a video series where we take a look at the people, the fun and interesting side characters that inhabit our virtual worlds, and try to get to the bottom of what makes each one of them special or memorable. I am Ghost, your host as always. A huge thank you to all of the amazing patrons who support this channel away from the tyranny of YouTube. You guys are my favorite. And now, let's waste no more time and continue. As far back as I can remember, I have always been really interested in the side characters that are specifically like the Merchant here. I mean, I remember being a kid and earnestly wondering about the Pokemon Center lady, like where she might live in town, if she had any Pokemon herself, and what she thought of my Mr. Mime named Tickler. But of course, as I got older, I came to understand that this brand of NPC, the blacksmiths, the quest givers, the innkeepers, while sometimes given interesting personalities or ties into a game's narrative, were really primarily there to provide a service or enable the player to interact with all of the game's necessary systems. And to this day, I find it very cool how different developers integrate these specifically video gamey things like item management, saving, pausing, and whatever else in creative ways that fit seamlessly into the world that they're trying so hard to immerse you in. And honestly, Resident Evil as a franchise, going back to its earliest days, has always been a pioneer in this field. Instead of loading screens, you used to have those creepy door opening animations. Instead of just a standard save option in the main menu, you had to use the ink ribbon item at a typewriter. And instead of boring inventory screens, you had the case management, actual item sizes and dimensions. The list goes on and on. But at the same time, Resident Evil has always been, well, ridiculous as hell. Things don't always have to make perfect sense. Things don't always have to be so serious. And so, in a way, I see Resident Evil 4's famous Merchant here as a beautiful union of these two important elements. Also, of course, it's worth remembering that with the recent remake of RE4, this character saw some pretty substantial changes, some renovations you might say, but we are first going to discuss the original. So Leon first encounters this NPC about 30 or 40 minutes into the game, after he's already discovered that something is horrifically wrong with all the people here, but still has no idea why or what's kind of happening on a bigger scale. And in that first half hour or so, the player, you at home, will have very likely been struggling a little bit in combat, and that's totally by design. And I just mean limited ammo and healing item drops, a sort of ridiculous amount of enemies swarming you with only a weak handgun and a combat knife at your disposal. But after Leon escapes from being captured alongside this fella, Luis Serra, the solution to that problem is just a jump scare away.
Over here, stranger.
And though you don't know who the hell this guy is, once you turn the corner, everything is made very clear.
Got something that might interest you. Got a selection of good things on sale, stranger.
And I love that there's no proper introduction, not even a hello, just right down to business. And I gotta say, I love the UI design so much in the original Resident Evil 4. This one almost being like the inside of the merchant's cloak with that purple color and the made in China clip. Now that's what I call soul. And well, surprise, surprise, with this mysterious character, you can buy stuff. But also, you can sell treasure you've found. You can upgrade and improve your favorite weapons. You can increase your inventory space. And then much later on in the game, he even runs a few kind of carnival shooting range mini-games where you can make a good amount of money and earn some extra rewards. But let's really take a second here to get a better look at this character physically. And I don't know about you, but I love the character design. Literally, like a store with legs, stuffed to the stitches with guns, bombs, knives, and who knows what else, and I can't imagine how he isn't sweating his ass off under there. Then beyond the bandana on his face, you can see that his skin looks almost gray, sickly, not unlike the Ganado that you've been fighting up to this point. Then there's that really interesting blue torch burning right next to him, which is certainly unusual. And then most importantly of all is, of course, the voice acting, which is just beyond iconic and noticeably English, maybe at times even veering a little into Australian, which is certainly a bit of a surprise out here in the sticks of Spain. So an inquisitive player in this moment might start to wonder then, who the hell is this guy? How did he get here? Is he one of the Ganado, or is he an opportunistic mobile capitalist? How has he not been ripped apart by all those crazed villagers? But on the other hand, I do think that from just this very first interaction, the overwhelming majority of players are not going to go that deep. They're going to say, all right, this is a merchant, they're going to buy something, maybe sell a piece of treasure, then turn around and continue on with the story. But I love how Resident Evil 4 only lets you overlook this NPC for so long, as after this initial meeting, the merchant has a grand total of 30 predetermined spots in the game world where he is waiting just for you. Sometimes in a very similar fashion where he's just kind of awkwardly standing there on his own next to his torch, and then others with a much more proper like storefront. I mean an admirable real setup with shelves and stuff that looks like it took some serious time to build. Not to mention there's those elaborate shooting galleries. So this character is seemingly magically everywhere all at once just for your convenience. And every time you stumble upon him, he very well got some new things in stock, some special deals just for you, stranger. And it really is these numerous spawn points and the specific placement of them that's one of the major keys to how this NPC ended up becoming such a fierce fan favorite. Because listen, there are times in Resident Evil 4 where holy smokes, you're just getting your ass beat, running low on everything, feeling weak and scared and underprepared for the next area. And it's a true credit to the game and level designers over at Capcom how it feels like right when you need him most, like water in the desert, that faint blue glow in the distance or around a tight corner calms your nerves like nothing else. Because the presence of the merchant not only means, of course, a chance to buy stuff, but it assures the player that at least for now, you're safe. No enemies are ever here to get you, and there is always a typewriter close at hand, allowing you to save your progress. Not to mention, in these moments, your soul is soothed by the most relaxing song in the entire game called Serenity. So for me, the merchant ends up feeling very much like the bonfires in Dark Souls, the benches in Hollow Knight, these markers of your progress, these checkpoints, as well as a chance to reflect, recharge, and rearm before walking out into the unknown yet again. But all that being said, the most important aspect of this NPC by a country mile is this.
What are you buying? What are you selling? I'll buy it at a high price. Thank you. Is that all, stranger?
You know, we humans are simple creatures. When something sounds good or funny or creepy, or in this case, a little bit of all the above, and then you hear these things repeated again and again and again, listen, it just starts to stick with you on a spiritual level. And for me, as well as millions of other fans, I'm sure, these specific voice lines are the first thing that come to mind when I think of Resident Evil 4 as a game, period. They really are that iconic and lasting as kind of earworms. Some of the most well-known in all of video game history, I would guess. The charming grit with which they are delivered, that genuine tone of creaky honesty, the uneven as hell Cockney accent, it's just perfect. And a fun piece of trivia for you. The merchant was originally voiced by actor Paul Mercer, who also played Leon in Resident Evil 4, so obviously a man of many talents, and I do wonder if he truly understands how big of an impact his 2 total minutes of recorded dialogue as the merchant have kind of had. But these really are the things that make NPCs like this so interesting and fun to me. This merchant, as we know and love him, could really only exist in the way that he does in a video game, where things are heightened and interactive and fun and accepted by the player, even if they don't make total sense. Because again, the way that this character effortlessly moves around this absurdly dangerous game world, the places he is able to reach and how he can man multiple bases at a time with all this high-tech military-grade stuff, I mean, it's nonsensical, isn't it? Well, maybe it isn't. And this is the frontier where fans have kind of taken the simple mystery surrounding the merchant and ran with it into the deep, uncertain waters of theory crafting. And while personally, I don't really subscribe to any of these ideas on a deep level and really do think of him more like a game mechanic personified, there are some interesting details here that we have yet to touch on. Most notably, when you visit the merchant during the nighttime in-game, his eyes glow just like the Ganados do. And there's no way that's a mistake, we're meant to notice it. And this implies that the merchant has a plaga inside of him, the infection that the majority of the characters in RE4 carry. But of course, he doesn't behave along any of the other lines that would prove this point further. He doesn't answer to Sadler, the main villain's call, like the other Ganado do. He's not at all violent or zombie-like. And if you're feeling mean and decide to shoot the merchant dead, he just lies there. He doesn't reanimate or mutate or anything the way the other Ganado do. And this point is made even stranger by the following. You can unlock the stupidly powerful secret weapon, the PRL-412, or the Plaga Removal Laser. And with this thing, you can pretty much one-shot any character or boss in the game that is infected. But when you use it on the merchant, literally nothing happens. So I really don't know. I mean, maybe this is just there to throw us off, get the fans talking. Maybe it is a mistake. Let me know what you think down below, I'm very curious. Then there's this whole other rabbit hole of the merchant's true identity, with many fans believing pretty firmly that he is this guy, Louis Serra's grandfather, or at least somehow related to him. Because later in the game, we learn that Serra's grandpappy lived here in the village and utilized a system of secret tunnels and shortcuts, which I guess would explain how the merchant is able to slither around undetected. I mean, it's a fun thought, but for me, it's quite a stretch. Also, of course, there is that blue flame, something that seems almost magical, mystical, so unlike anything else you see in RE4. And personally, I've always kind of felt like maybe the merchant found a solution, a way to ward off those infected with the Plaga. Oh, and I almost forgot this one, that people have theorized the merchant is actually one of 20 clones of himself, or a collection of brothers, or an association of merchants or something like that, because if you kill him, he comes back at the next spawn point healthy as ever, not even mad about it. He also uses the word "we" quite a bit, which has left many fans scratching their chins in wonder. But I've always kind of interpreted that as he works with some black market underground merchant ring. The "we" is the supply chain of these goodies, with him just being the front of that operation. But honestly, when I learned that this NPC was actually created super duper late in development by artist Masaki Yamanaka to be, quote, the living embodiment of a shop, a man of items, it kind of confirmed for me that there wasn't a ton of thought that went into the merchant. They just needed a way for Leon to be buying and selling stuff, and this is the kind of fun solution they came up with. That's it. But these speculative discussions are of course always a lot of fun. Things that bring the fandom together, starting petty arguments on Reddit. You gotta love it. But on top of everything we have just discussed, when you're looking at the merchant's cultural impact on the industry and on the fandom, I think it's very important to remember that Resident Evil 4 was a massive success in its time. I mean, outselling all of its predecessors by a mile and putting the series again at the forefront in that PS2 and GameCube era. So the sheer exposure that the merchant enjoyed is a huge part of his legacy as well. And yes, as I alluded to in the opening, the years after RE4's release saw this character referenced in so many other video games, I can't even list them all. The most famous one at this point I think is probably gotta be Xur from the Destiny games, who's the main exotic weapons merchant that only appears at certain times throughout the week, and I mean just look at him. But it's really those taglines, what are you buying, what are you selling, etc., that have seen shoutouts in the likes of Doom, Hearthstone, the Borderlands series, Bayonetta, Nier Automata, many JRPGs, and of course, other Resident Evil games, even from Leon himself in RE6. And the Duke in Resident Evil Village refers to the merchant as an old friend. But as this NPC was becoming something of a cult classic through the mid and late 2000s, the Resident Evil series went through many ups and probably more downs. However, back in June of 2022, after the hugely successful remakes of Resident Evil 2 and 3, the news the gaming world had been highly anticipating finally arrived. That the most loved game in the Resident Evil franchise was getting the very same treatment, and I would guess that the Merchant was 100% amongst the most anticipated elements for hardcore fans. I know he was for a casual fan like myself. And when the RE4 remake was released, many people were a little bit surprised at just how different this NPC was. Not bad changes, mind you, not at all, just different. And that really goes for the entire game, top to bottom. I mean, the world, the gameplay, the side content, the way it all feels and flows, even the narrative, is kind of completely reimagined. So that moment where you first meet the Merchant, though it happens at the exact same point in the story, it's kind of unrecognizable to me. The iconic blue flame torches, for some reason, are now purple, though he does have a little blue lantern on his table. And the voice acting was taken over completely by a new actor, Michael Adamthwaite. I think I'm saying that right, and honestly, I think he does a pretty good job.
A deal well struck.
Still that mostly Cockney but a little bit drifting into Australian sounding accent that we all know and love. And then visually, I actually do think he looks pretty incredible, though maybe a little bit more generic with how little of his eyes and face you can see. But honestly, it didn't take me long at all to accept this new version of the character. Partly because they expanded his usefulness, his mechanics, like tenfold, adding this whole system called merchant requests, which are essentially side quests where you get to go explore some area, kill some rats, or shoot those medallions, or find a rare item to sell him or something, and by doing these, you earn a special currency, which you can trade with him for unique rewards and upgrades. He also offers new services of customization and repairs and stuff to kind of match all of the updated gameplay systems. I really like it. And while the original Merchant had maybe like 10 total lines he would say over and over and over again, this guy has almost 10 minutes of unique dialogue, reacting to specific items and weapons you're buying, chopping it up with you over the speaker when you're doing those shooting challenges, which are now pirate themed. And overall, you just get to know this guy quite a bit better, there's more personality on display. But I really love that that is kind of where the changes end. He still has the very same mysterious yet calming and funny presence. It's still a huge relief to see the glow of his now violet flames and know that you're safe. And there is still no concrete understanding of who this guy really is, where he came from, or anything else, and I love that. This is a super respectful update to a universally beloved character, and that kind of extends to the way most fans seem to feel about the remake, that it is damn good. One of my favorite things about the video game industry, and I've talked about this many times before, is how when everyone is kind of acting on their best behavior, there really is a possibility for this fun back and forth dialogue between the fans and the developers. Because I doubt very much that Capcom knew so many people would love the Merchant of all people the way that they did, that he would become this early 2000s internet phenomenon and kids would be mimicking his voice lines on the playground for years and years to come. But it's really because they didn't anticipate it that they were able to make something so simple and silly and original. I mean, sometimes those late in production things that are cobbled together end up being the most pure, the most fun. And over the years, I've loved watching the Merchant's legend grow with all those references, the jokes, and of course the theories. And man, on a personal level, to this day, I will still sometimes hear the Merchant's voice when I open up Amazon or go to the grocery store or open up eBay or something. Because nothing gets me more ready to take my wallet out and spend my hard-earned pesetas than hearing the simple question,
What are you buying?